Our deep dive today is straight into the heart of the chaos that was AFT Season 11, Round 3.
Pure chaos is right.
This weekend was just all over the place. I mean, we saw the widest possible spectrum of results you can imagine.
We really did.
Everything from a 50-point demolition, a complete statement of intent, all the way down to a 1-point thriller.
Decided by the last kick of the match. Literally.
A final pick.
And that contrast, I think that's the whole story of the season so far. You've got these demolition jobs, and then you have these sort of desperate, nail-biting survival stories.
Right.
We're 3 rounds in now, and the ladder is already starting to shake out. So our job today is really to identify who's setting that early standard.
Especially those top 3 undefeated clubs.
Exactly. And just as importantly, figure out which teams are already hitting the panic button before round 4 has even started.
Okay, let's get into it, because the drama really starts with that sheer dominance we saw from a couple of teams. These weren't just wins.
No, they were psychological blows.
Absolutely.
Fremantle's performance, I think, was the most forceful of the round. They put up the biggest score of the weekend, a massive 21.17 for 143 points.
Which translated to a 50-point thrashing of Essendon.
A 50-point demolition. And this is a team that, a lot of people had questions about coming into the season. And now, all of a sudden, they're flexing their scoring muscles.
Posting numbers that just scream contender.
Yeah, we are a top-tier contender.
And you can't forget, the reigning premiers, the West Coast Eagles, they just reminded everyone why they're wearing the crown, right?
Yeah.
Beating Collingwood by a very comfortable 38 points.
Very. And when you see margins like that, 50 points, 38 points, it really suggests there's a gap opening up.
A gap between the clubs who know how to control a game and the others who are just scrambling.
Control is the perfect word. Those big wins, they signal confidence, they signal efficiency. But, you'd almost be forgiven for missing those blowouts.
Because the real story was survival.
The real story of round 3 was survival, not dominance. The tension in those close games was just off the charts.
This is where it gets really, really good. The Adelaide Crows and the Western Bulldogs. That was the ultimate heart stop.
Oh, absolutely.
It ends 88-87 to the Crows. But it wasn't sealed until the final play of the day.
The reports from inside the stadium said the atmosphere was just unbearable, that the noise when that final kick went through was the highest it's been all season.
I believe it. And then you look at a team like Hawthorn. They're quickly building this reputation, not just for winning, but for winning ugly.
Winning ugly is their brand right now.
They scraped by Geelong by only 4 points. In our notes here, call it another Hawks nail-biter. They're 3-0s, but they are living on the edge.
They are walking the tightrope, and they seem to be thriving on these, anxiety-inducing single-digit finishes. It's their whole identity.
It's such a sharp contrast, isn't it? You have the Crows winning a 1-point classic despite being a dominant team, and then Hawthorn, who seems to almost rely on those close calls.
It is. And we also saw some huge upsets. Gold Coast Suns stunning Richmond in a 5-point thriller. That was Richmond's first loss.
And it just proves that those mid-table teams can absolutely steal a win from the big guns.
Oh, yeah. And we can't ignore that shootout between St. Kilda and Port Adelaide. That was just an incredible spectacle.
What was the final score on that? 137-125?
Yeah, 137-125. Some people were immediately calling it a 50-goal classic. It just shows that for some teams, defense is almost secondary. It's just about outgunning your opponent.
It was an offensive masterclass.
Yeah.
From both sides.
Yeah, entertainment value is definitely alive and well.
So if we pull all this together, the blowouts, the upsets, the thrillers, the big takeaway seems to be about efficiency. A massive difference in who can convert in front of goal.
Exactly. The margin, like we said, with Fremantle, it signifies control. But the struggle to just convert chances into goals has been the undoing for so many teams.
Look at Melbourne against GWS.
Perfect example. They finally, as the report said, found the big sticks. They won by 28 points, but that wasn't just a win.
No, it was a release.
It was a massive psychological release. It was the difference between staring down a 0-3 hole and getting a much-needed breath of life. That ability to convert, it's already a huge separator.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the top of the ladder. Because despite all this chaos, only 3 teams made it through without a loss.
Yep, just 3 clubs managed to escape those first few weeks completely unscathed. Adelaide, Hawthorn, and St. Kilda.
And they're setting the standard, but in 3 totally different ways.
Completely distinct philosophies.
Let's start with Adelaide. They're sitting at rank 1. Their metrics are, well, they're phenomenal. They have a massive percentage of 138.55%.
Which is huge.
So what does that number actually mean, like in terms of controlling a game?
Well, it's probably the single biggest predictor of success you can have this early on. A
Right.
percentage like that, 138.55, it means, on average,
Yeah.
they're scoring almost 40% more points than they're letting in. It just signifies total control. And that's even with that tight 1-point win they had. Historically, teams with that kind of percentage this early, they're flag favorites, full stop.
So controlled power. But then you have Hawthorn, ranked 2. Their percentage is 117.60%. Good, but
A world away from Adelaide's.
a world away. And they are quite accurately described as living on last-kick miracles. So I have to ask, at some point, isn't repeated luck a skill?
That's a great question.
Doesn't winning these high-pressure games prove a kind of mental strength that Adelaide hasn't really been tested on yet?
It's a fantastic point, and you can't argue with 3-0. It shows an incredible capacity for clutch performance. Hawthorn has all the intangibles of survival,
Right.
but the data cautions against relying on it. Winning by single digits week after week, it requires this extraordinary run of luck or just maintaining this perfect psychological peak every single time.
So it's not sustainable.
Historically, no. High-percentage teams like Adelaide, they tend to maintain their position. The teams living on narrow margins often regress when those final kicks, stop falling their way.
It's the sustainability question.
Oh.
Okay, now let's look at St. Kilda, rank 3, the third member of the 3-0 club. They're not about metrics like Adelaide or anxiety like Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Their thing is just pure firepower.
Pure firepower. They are the high-octane threat. They've scored the most points in the entire league, 378, and every single analysis just describes them as red hot.
So their plan is just to outscore any problem they might have on defense.
That's it. They are committed to an attacking, high-pressure game plan. They're the team that's going to try to score 140 points every single time they step on the field.
So round 3 really gave us this clash of philosophies at the top. Adelaide's controlled power, Hawthorn's gritty survival, and St. Kilda's overwhelming offense.
And watching which of those three approaches proves sustainable is going to be fascinating. But while they're fighting for the top spot, we have to look at the bottom of the ladder.
Where there is an immediate crushing crisis.
Several teams are already hitting, and the term used is panic stations.
The 0-3 club, it's small, but the pressure cooker is on maximum. You've got the Sydney Swans at rank 17 with an 83% percentage, and Essendon dead last at rank 18 with 76%.
And that gap between 0-3 and 1-2, it doesn't look huge on paper, but psychologically it's immense.
Oh, it's a canyon.
Being 0-3 forces immediate radical changes. Coaches feel the heat, trade rumors start, and the players are just forced into this desperation mode where every single quarter matters.
And round 3 was what decided who fell into that hole. North Melbourne got their first win.
And in doing so, sent Sydney spiraling to 0-3.
One result, season saver for North and an early catastrophe for the Swans.
That's the cold reality of it. And you saw it elsewhere, too. Brisbane got a desperate win against Carlton to avoid that 0-3 start. Melbourne saved their season against GWS.
Those 1-2 teams, they have breathing room. They can still adjust.
They have flexibility,
Yeah.
but Sydney and Essendon, they have zero margin for error. They've lost that luxury of early season experiments. Any big loss in round 4 spells absolute disaster. Their seasons are already about crisis management.
Which is why the upcoming games are just so massive for them. They're playing for their entire season's integrity. And if you look at the matchups for round 4,
We have what is, without a doubt, the game of the round, Saturday night. Adelaide Crows versus Hawthorn at Adelaide Oval.
This game is everything, a direct clash for top spot. And according to the analysis we've seen, the winner immediately stakes a claim for early flag favoritism.
It's the dominant force versus the Gritmasters.
The prediction is Crows by 13 points. So it suggests Adelaide's power is still the slightly safer bet, but it's expected to be a classic.
If the Crows win, they're the gold standard. If Hawthorn wins, that narrative of survival becomes almost impossible to argue with.
It's the ultimate test for both of their philosophies. But let's look at the predictions for the teams at the bottom, because our notes are pretty brutal.
Okay.
The lock of the round prediction is the West Coast Eagles playing 0-3 Essendon. Eagles are predicted to win by 42 points. 42, that's a demolition. The assessment for Essendon here is harsh. It says their season could be cooked by 10 p.m. on Saturday.
That margin, 42 points, it's just the whole system is broken, not just that they're unlucky.
And what about the other crisis games?
Sydney, deep in that 0-3 hole, they have to face the Western Bulldogs. The prediction is Dogs by 25.
Which would put the Swans' season on life support. That forces a club to make some big changes.
It does, but on the flip side, you've got to expect a reaction from a wounded giant. Richmond, after being stung by the
I'll
Suns,
be breathing fire.
they are predicted to bounce back and win by 31 against Port Adelaide. You do not want to be the team that faces the Tigers after their pride has been wounded.
And the upset alert.
Keep an eye on Brisbane over GWS. A result like that would send more shockwaves through the middle of the ladder, but really, round 4 is all about that clash of the unbeaten.
So as we wrap this up, the central tension is perfectly framed. At the top, you've got Adelaide's measured power against Hawthorn's magical grit.
And at the bottom, you have Sydney and Essendon facing this immediate existential deadline to win now, or their seasons are over before they've even really begun.
This volatility, it forces you to reevaluate what actually matters right now. We've seen teams like Adelaide and Fremantle succeed with dominant margins, proving they can control a game.
But then we have Hawthorn, and they are proving that the ability to consistently win those incredibly tight, high-pressure, single-digit contests is also a way to get to an undefeated record.
So which is the more reliable sign of a true premiership contender?
That's the question. Is it dominance, or is it delivery under extreme pressure?
That is the question you have to mull over as we head into this round. The teams built on power versus the teams built on mental steel. Which foundation holds up when the pressure really starts to build?
We'll be watching very closely.